everybody.
Hey.
We are here again for our awesome Friday, jam-packed with experts. And right now we get the honor and pleasure of speaking with Dr. Carla Couturier. Am I saying your last name right?
Yep, absolutely.
Good.
Awesome.
So I'd have been embarrassed if I didn't, but it's okay.
It's unique.
and so Dr. Carla is a teen mindset expert, and she is here to talk with us about how families and partners in particular can create greater harmony in how they're co-parenting through the teen years.
Mm-hmm. And maybe preteen.
And
Preteen. Yeah.
Yes, we were just behind the scenes talking about our experience with our young kids already kind of going through puberty and feeling like we missed out on childhood and jumped right into teenage years. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say, Carla, but why don't you start by just introducing yourself? Tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to just talk and have a nice discussion about this, as well as share with our audiences. And I have a doctorate in educational leadership. So I'm a educator. I've been an educator for 20 years. I've worked with preteens, teens, college levels kids. As a teacher, an assistant principal, professor. So that's my background. And then I got a few coaches myself as an adult, and I realized like I had been coaching for 20 years, but I just didn't know it was called coaching. So it was kind of like, wait a minute, I've been talking to parents, I've been talking to teenagers, I've been, helping them, motivate themselves and, help them to empower themselves. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this thing? So then I came up with the idea of starting a business, and I became a certified, life coach, working on mindset, working on confidence, what teens need, and then branching out with families since obviously if I'm working with a teen, it's not just, they're not in a vacuum, so it's their brothers or sisters, aunts, uncles. I mean, it could be whomever they live with, but ultimately their parents or whomever it is that is their guardian. So it's kind of like a family thing when it comes down to it, whether I work with the whole family or I do just work with the teen, everyone's a part of it. So so my story is an educator, and then moving into the coaching space and just kind of using my experiences as well as my knowledge and research-based information that I've gathered to help families, really.
That's awesome.
Much needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like the teen years, at least when I was a teen, which is like the main model that I go off of when I am terrified of my own 4 children being in their teen years at the same time.
Yeah,
I'm
look
like,
back at yourself.
how am I going to do this? And I know that Cal and I have a pretty solid relationship, and also we're a blended family, and we're dealing with other co-parents who sometimes have different ideas from us, and we're dealing with kids who recognize that I'm not their mom, Cal's not their official dad in some ways, and so there's different dynamics in every family that I'm sure show up and add layers of challenge
to an already challenging situation.
To what I think
phase of development
can be, though I'm trying to practice and rehearse the thoughts that it doesn't have to be challenging. It can be easy, it can be harmonious, we can, because I don't want to go in with that expectation, but I recognize that there's going to be a learning curve for us.
Sure.
And so I want to know, what have you learned are the key most important pieces to pay attention to for co-parents, or to have in mind, or to learn about, to create greater harmony within families? I
mean, I think the thing you said, there's 2 things you said. One, I would strongly suggest including the teen always. So it's kind of like one of those things when you're meeting with parents, or even if I'm just talking to a parent in the grocery line and they're talking about the kid right in front of them like they're not there. So that, I know we're talking about co-parenting, but that then just complicates things further if mom is trying to say this, dad is trying to say this, they're on different ends of the spectrum, and then the kid is just sitting there like, what the heck, and it's already a challenging situation because yes, mindset, it doesn't have to be hard. I get all that, but you're a teen. Let's just be real. Teen years are hard. Mm-hmm. So it's like including them in the conversation, period. So it's not always like, what do you want, Johnny or Susan? And then they get whatever they want. It's no, but what do you want? And then what do you need? Like, what do you really need? Is it, do you need to join extracurriculars? Do you need some more support with your emotionality? Like, do you want to go get an animal? I don't know. It could be anything along the spectrum, and maybe they don't get that thing, but it's also like they have to be part of the conversation, giving them choices, making them feel like they are heard. Those are the things for the teen specifically, because if parents aren't doing that, they're just making these decisions. Kids are getting into things they don't even want to do. Like if you're forcing them to do theater when they're really good at music, I don't know. It just because you want them to. And I know we're a little bit off tangent, but it's totally about getting them up as part of the conversation and as part of the decision-making process. Mm-hmm. They don't have the final say. They're still a teenager. They're still a child, but they must have some sort of power in that conversation, or else it's just a constant conflict. It's just a fight, So that would be like my number one thing. For sure.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, because teenagers are in this like emerging process from like being children to being adults. And like, if we're in a relationship with an adult, we include them in the conversation. We don't treat them like a child.
Or make decisions on their behalf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's like, if they're not a full adult, and so they, as you're saying, they don't get the final say, letting them have a voice, having some power and influence over their own lives. That's part of the how we support them in learning how to be a grown-up.
A full functioning adult.
Yes.
Ideally.
Yeah. And with parents, and on the same note, it's like, you want to give your teen some autonomy, or your preteen or your college age student, the different levels of autonomy. But then a lot of parents aren't also releasing that responsibility to them. You're still trying to control them while you're saying like, can't you be more responsible? Well, you're not allowing them to be. It's just like, saying, can't you and a lot of parents will come to me and be like, fix my teenager.
Right.
It's not about that. I mean, I hope I can help them, and I genuinely feel I can. But with that being said, it's the whole family. So yeah, yeah.
But I think this brings to attention, just the importance of co-parents understanding and agreeing to these like commitments.
The approach, yeah.
Right, we spend there's people say, right, there's no handbook for parenting. There are books out there, but no real handbook for your kid. And there's, you're transitioning into this new chapter, which you may not have done before, and even if you have, each kid is different. So your point about including your child in the conversations and letting them have some choice and some autonomy makes a ton of sense, because they need to figure out who they are and like practice thinking. But if both parents aren't on the same page or don't agree that like we need to do this is how we support our teen in launching and becoming an adult, in creating more harmony in our family by doing this, which I'll also own, it takes extra energy as a parent, because it is so much harder. And we have like an unschooling philosophy. So we're trying to do this even with our kids when they're little, but it's so much harder to be in a collaborative relationship with your kids and not just be the dictator who makes decisions and expects your kids to fall in line, which is how I know a lot of us were parenting.
That's how we were raised.
It's work.
So this is like a paradigm shift, and it's going to take extra, you have to slow down, take extra time and energy.
Well, it's funny you say that, because and you said the commitment piece as well. So it's very, coaching is a commitment. You think about it like it's therapy, and I go once a month or once a week or twice or whatever, and I just like say all my problems, but that's not coaching. No. And so it's a lot of work on the client, if it's say just the teen or the parents, because the parents have to kind of be a little bit more hands off and let the teen, lead the sessions with myself. And it's not like, because you told me you want them to do this, that's what I'm going to coach them on. I'm going to coach them on the same values that you have. Obviously, I'm not going to work with someone that's not aligned with me, but if he or she wants to work on X, Y, and Z, and that's not what you're asking, it doesn't mean that it's not valid. They may want to work on, I don't know, relationships with their friends, but you're pushing them to work on their grades. Well, I'm not going to ignore the grade piece, but it's hard for parents to like kind of a little bit let go and let the teen lead the conversation is one of the things. And then speaking to the commitment of it, we might work together for 45 minutes on Monday, but then before I see you next Monday, you're to be implementing things. If you just come to me going, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I mean, I get it. There's not always a problem, and that's fair. But also, like, did you implement the schedule we put together, or did you do your I am statements, or did you write in your journal, whatever works, those are the kind of things. And that's the commitment that comes in too, because if we're creating change, you're going to have to put some work in. And if you want to stay the same, then you probably won't be coming to me, so that's a kind of a shift, like you're saying too, the paradigm, like the work, it's easy to tell a kid, just do this. And there's times when there's like a safety concern, you got to yell and say something and it just is what it is. Just stop. But outside of that, when you're actually sitting down, having a conversation, making decisions on something as small as where we're going to go to dinner to something as large as like, what school do you want to go to? It's work for parents, but it's also healthy in the long run. So what you guys are doing, I strongly encourage. Because it might not be the easiest road, but it's the path that's going to take your whole family to the next level, truly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I applaud you.
Well, I'm thinking about just the call in, right? The accountability piece to the fact that we, as parents, that's our responsibility, right? To like do that extra work for our kids' well-being, to learn what we are not learning, to spend extra energy when we may not want to move through the resistance of what would feel easiest for us as parents, to really show up. And it makes me think about like the work that we do with couples, and the way that like the challenges we have in our relationship with our spouse or our life partner. Yeah. Like you can't just sit back and expect it all to be easy. Right? Like if you really want harmony, if you really want it to be a wonderful relationship, you have to like push past the resistance of doing things you don't want to do, putting in the energy.
Well, yeah, and taking the action.
And take action to change things.
Yeah. Yeah, because like even just taking the action to have the conversation about it, sure, that's cool. But if nothing comes from the conversation, if you don't take action and like implement some change with some intention, it's like what's even the point?
And it's really like being able to also be okay with uncomfortability, because yes, you need to put the work in. Yes, you need to take action. But like if I'm gonna use lines of questioning that are gonna dip into things that feelings, emotions, thoughts that you might not want to address. And that too is like, one, we have to create a safe space, because obviously like anybody opening up to another human, so I truly create a safe space, but then it's like, I'm not going to just let you off the hook either and just let you do what you've been doing, or let you continue to have the same thoughts you've been having. I mean, I can't change it for you, but I'm here to guide you towards like, it's okay. It's uncomfortable. It's new. You're going to fail at think you fail at times, because you're not truly failing, but you're going to maybe slip up on something that and think an old way you were thinking. But ultimately, it's like you said, like that commitment, and sticking to it and pushing through the action as well as the uncomfortability, because change is not comfortable for anyone, but the more we do it, the easier it becomes. Like now I just want things to change all the time. It's like you get to this point where it's like, I don't know, like I want to just go and live outside of the box completely. So, but I can tell you when I was 22, I met someone that told me like, live outside of your comfort zone. I don't know why, it just felt like a new concept to me for whatever reason, the way she had worded it to me. And like ever since then, I'm like, always trying to do that, because I've created such growth in the past 20 years, starting that was like my college years, and kind of like when you first start stepping out. Kids today, it's a lot earlier depending upon what's going on in the world, but I mean it's just pushing through that uncomfortability and like being open to at least trying to change, yeah, it's major. Definitely. Yeah.
So I have another question, but I know I'm doing a lot of question asking. Did you have any?
No, the thing I've always been told about change is that it's the only constant, right? So yeah, developing a habit of getting comfortable with change and things always improving, never staying static or status quo. Yeah, it's a shift, but a helpful one to make to navigate life powerfully.
No, 100%. It's like all about the transformation. It truly is. I mean, and, kids will transform eventually, but can we support them to, thrive, earlier on and have experiences? They're going to still have experiences, learn from them, natural consequences, but do we have to keep creating that same experience? Can we learn from it quicker, and can we move past, and it's like that whole identity shift. It's like walking them through that whole identity shift and just being right by their side to support them as they do. Because and as adult, I'm still shifting identity. Like it doesn't stop. It's not like half of the things I coach my kids on, I use the same things and coach myself through it. I mean, literally wake up in the morning and do the same things. So it's that valuable, and it's not something in these habits and routines and whatever we create in the individual teen's life. They're not things that are just meant to be in the teen years, like it's throughout, and hopefully they share them with their family, the whole family's doing it. If you like journaling and it works for your family and there's a time at night you guys do it, that's that. If going for a walk and talking, if that's what's the thing that works for the family for whatever reason, I mean, amazing. So it's about the whole family for sure.
Yeah. Well, what that brings to mind, Carla, is just like how important it is to keep doing our own work.
Yes.
Right? Like if we want more harmony in our family or with our kids, with our partner, it starts here.
We all have work.
And we all have work, and it doesn't end, right? You don't ever get to this place where like, okay, I've done my work, I've done my healing, I'm done. It's like, we keep peeling back layers, we keep expanding the edge of our comfort zone, right? I always have this like image of like pushing the edge of a bubble, and it like stretches bigger and bigger when you like live on the edge of your comfort zone. Like you just keep growing.
It's thinking like a tree ring, but sure.
Rings on a tree. I like being inside a bubble.
I like your visuals. Your visuals are great right now. I'm like trying to put it together.
But yeah, like so when we think about like what's the solution to creating greater harmony and ease through the teen years, I mean, what we're talking about so far is like putting in the energy and effort of centering your kiddo, including them in the conversations, recognizing that they need to be able to make some decisions for themselves in this transitory time, and doing our own work. Like continue and modeling that for our kids and expanding how we show up.
And embracing change.
Yeah.
And to be honest, those are the kind of people that are attracted to me, like those type of parents, so I can tell right away, like if they don't have to be in a coaching program, but they have a business coach, or they might be an entrepreneur. Or they might, those are just examples, or they're taking their kids to do new activities. It doesn't have to be a formalized program per se, but they're willing to get out there. They're willing, I just lost weight, or, I just got a new job, or I just, like they're creating the change in their own life too, and modeling that. So, super successful people, no matter what walk of life they're coming from, it's that mindset piece. If they're working on their mindset, if they're doing the work, like you said, and to your point earlier, when you're talking about, we're talking about the whole family, it can be challenging for teens because like, I can't remember the last time I had a client that had like two parents at home. It's been quite some time, and that's not a bad thing at all. It's just the way things are, and there's no negative with separating from another person, whether it be divorce or separation. So as adults' identities shift, they can grow apart and not want to cohabitate anymore. And that shouldn't be a negative thing. It's like the way things are.
More change
in our world. So it's challenging for some teens, but it also, like you said in your first statement, doesn't have to be challenging. but it's about the parents kind of them doing their own work again, as you said, and then just being there for the teen in the way that they need it. Like whatever that looks like. If you don't want to sit in the same room with your ex or, but you can jump on this Zoom call with me for a half hour just to see what your teen needs. That's all. You don't have to interact with one another. You don't have to, if it's that bad. But you do have to commit to supporting your teen through this shift. I mean, and that's what I require. I don't require you to be, I'm not trying to get you guys back together. It's not about that. But I am saying, hey, so-and-so needs you right now. And can you show up for them, please?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Well, speaking of parents who aren't necessarily together, or parents who where I go is they're struggling in their relationship, or maybe they don't agree about how to parent or co-parent their teens, right? Like one parent might think they need more responsibility in the house. They need to do more chores. The other parent's no, let them be kids kind of thing, right? How do you, what advice do you have for partners or co-parents who are not on the same page about what their teen needs or how to best support them in growing up?
I mean, I would say focus on the big rocks. I mean, and actually self-reflect and realize, one, is it worth fighting over, I don't know, just making this up, what clothes the kid wears? Or, something small. I mean, as long as they're appropriate and normal, fair enough. But what I am going to fight for is, what school I want them to go to, or, if it makes, so really, is it worth picking and nagging at everything that your ex does or doesn't do, the way they this, the way they that, the way, so because it's like you said earlier, it's a waste of energy. So one thing is just, maybe we need to sit down and pick the 5 major big rocks, the things that we our values for our family, even though it's separated at this time. And those are the things that we're going to what are our family values? Even though we're not together, that doesn't mean we still aren't working together. Yeah. So if you're, if I said, if it's something that's not important and it's just to fight and because you're, that's gotta be dropped. And the other thing is a lot of times I'll be working with the teen and the parent will come to me and say, it's all because they go to so-and-so's house and that kind of thing. And the blame piece. And we've got to shift that too, because maybe that is true. Maybe that isn't true. Do you really even know what's happening at that house? It's all hearsay and it becomes drama and all that. So really talk to your teen, and that I oftentimes have to coach parents, and that's why sometimes they then hire me for themselves, because I'm we've got to work on your stories, because it's now we're shifting back to where you were when you were getting divorced. That's not what we're here for. So it's on them too, back again, circles back to them, one, focusing on what is our family value, and then two, what are my stories, and am I putting that on my kid? And of course you are, to an extent. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone messes their kid up to a certain extent. Like you said, there's no book, but do we need to continue with those stories?
Yes.
Is it really healthy for me to keep saying this about my ex every time such and such a thing comes up? It's not healthy for that parent, and it's not healthy for the kid. It just, so how do we let those stories go?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah. And, it reminds me of, the work that we do with couples who are often struggling in their relationship, how important it is to just make space for differences. Because I think one of the stories that we have, especially when it comes to our kids, is around this is the right way to do it. This is how we should do it. Yeah. And there's also this fear that happens that if we don't, something bad is going to happen to our kids, right? They're going to grow up and not be productive members of society. They're going to grow up and not know how to wash their own clothes, or, we get into these fear places. And so I really appreciate that you're talking about those stories and our work as parents in our own mindset, in our own belief system, to really step back and examine that. What's coming up? Where are we coming from? And how can we make space for shifting that within ourselves and recognizing that this may not actually be worth like fighting for.
Yeah.
Because that
Or fighting
fighting,
about, yeah.
right? Like, because that fighting also affects the teens, whether you're still in relationship or you're no longer in relationship, like
Yeah.
that's going to create disharmony in the family.
100%. Like if you have a daughter and she's 12 and it's no boyfriend until she's 16, then that's on both sides. You know, like, I mean, then that's clear. That's, you know, or if it's my son is 16 and no one is allowed to drive with him yet. No, you know, it's just our family or whatever those are like bigger rules, you know, so that needs to be across the board. You know, if we all eat healthy, okay. You know, I mean, okay, some families that matters more than others, but yeah, again, it's the big rocks. If it's like, you know, I'm just trying to think of something small, but like, you know, or even like, okay, everyone needs to get a half hour of activity, some sort in a day, you know, like trying to have the major like things covered, health, relationships, safety, those are the big values versus like the small things, you know? So yeah, super important. And I'm sure it's with you guys having 4. Wow.
I feel like we haven't gotten to a lot of the hard ones yet. But
That's okay.
But
being
hard decisions. Yeah.
But being consistent with the smaller decisions is just it's just the same as the larger decision. It just feels like more. But if you have that trust, that communication, you have all that, the like groundwork set, when the harder things come along, it's not going to be as hard.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So if you didn't have any boundaries to begin with and it was just a free for all and then you try to like throw a big boundary out there and say no to something, forget about it.
yeah, exactly.
But with your kids, it's already happening. They're respecting you. You're having the dialogue. They might not always be happy with it, but it is what it is. Then when you get to the major decision, the boyfriends, the girlfriends, the cars and all that, it's going to be a lot smoother. Maybe not perfect, but a lot smoother.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like there's going to be bumps in the road. And I want to come back to like, I think I wrote it down. Is it worth fighting about? Like that question, right? Because like we spend so much energy in conflict. And for me, there's been, as you know, as a co-parent, there's been things that I don't agree with, that I would prefer are not how our kids are parented, that like don't align with my personal values. But that was really the question that like anchored me. It's like, is this really worth fighting about? Do I want to create disharmony? And it's not like, you know, I'm afraid to rock the boat kind of thing. It's really just like a consciousness around, like a conscious, deliberate decision of what matters more here, pushing for what I would prefer and what I think is a better way of parenting, or honoring that this is really important to my co-parent, even though I disagree, and I would rather keep harmony for the sake of our relationship and our family and the kid than push what I would rather do. And like, and it's hard as a parent to give that up because we want to make all the best decisions for our kids all the time. And when someone else wants to make a best decision that we know
don't think it's
is
the
not
best.
best.
Yeah.
we think we know, right? That's the story.
Yeah.
It's hard to let that go, but it's like, how big of a deal in the kid's life is this really going to be? Is it going to really, is it going to matter them more that it goes my way, or more that like I'm getting along with their other parent?
Right.
Like,
and weighing it, and it's like on a case by case basis on every single decision, because it's never going to be just blanket about everything.
Of course.
But is this really just me trying to get my way, or is this truly not good for my kid? If it's truly not good for your kid, and then you're fighting for it for like a genuine, you know, values, belief standpoint. But if it's just like, oh, I can't stand when he does this, and it's like just because he annoys you or she annoys you or whatever history you all have, then it's really about you. So, you know, it's that reflecting on, you know, why am I saying that I don't like this? And you still might not like it, but like you said, if it's really important to them and I know my kid is happy, safe, all the things, let's just go with it kind of thing, you know? Because even if you were still with that person, this situation would still be there. That thing would still come up.
Right.
So
Right. We can't protect or shield our kids from all the experiences. We can only do our best.
Yeah.
And sometimes you, not you personally, but you think that the decision is poor and then something really good comes out of that you didn't think of too.
Right.
So it's, sometimes it's just also your limiting beliefs or your, like, oh, we do it this way. So there's that too, because that other person might have some insights that you didn't have. So yeah, it's always, it's not, there's no formula, like you said, no formula.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the work that you do, with teens and I guess really, especially with parents, right? When they get really good at the skills, like listening and adjusting to change and,
mindset,
all the things, right? What happens? What gifts do they get from that? And if you have like any examples of like the transformation you witnessed in your own work, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I met with a teen this week. I think it was yesterday. And, for so long, he's been kind of complaining. I'm like, how am I going to get him out of this? I'm working this angle. I'm working that angle. And I'm like, he just keeps complaining. And he came to the session like completely different. I was like, who is this? And I've noted and I was like, what did you do? He's like, I just changed my personality. I said, I'm not going to let that bother me anymore. I said, oh my God, he's been listening to me. And, and he said, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what it was, but it was like, whatever he had been complaining about, he's just like, it still bothers me to an extent, but I'm not going to let it kind of ruin my day, was the gist of the conversation of all these things that there had been a lot of resistance with. So I was like, do you realize like how much resistance you've let go of? I don't even think he realizes it. And so that's like the reward. It's the transformation. It's the identity shift. It's the like personality, whatever you want to label it as. It's taking from like complaining, negative, all the negative emotions, not that he's not going to have those anymore, but to actually shifting. And then like, you're kind of like on the flip side. Oh, now I'm starting my growth and I'm continuing my growth. So that was truly like the most recent thing that I was like, oh my goodness, like this is great. This is what it's all about. And it's not about like a transformation, like you go from 0 to 100. It's small incremental things that then become larger. And then you have this thriving adult that is amazing based upon these incremental shifts they made over these years. So, and that's like a lot of times I'll coach kids for long periods of time. It's not because they have so many problems but it's like incremental growth. And then a new situation comes up or they change in their life. And then we got to grow and we got to work on that thing, or like something else is uncovered with their emotions or their feelings or their thoughts. And then there's that challenge to work through. So, yeah, it's very rewarding. I mean, that's truly the reason why I went into this. It was like to see that transformation. It's just like when I was a teacher and you saw the light bulb on and they finally understood whatever concept you were trying to share with them. It's the same thing. It's just, the emotion side of it. So yeah, it's amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'm all for anything that is going to make those teen years easier and more empowering.
That's the one. Empowering.
Right? 'Cause, that's really what came across when you were talking, like that this gentleman became more empowered in his experience of life, that he could just
and himself
make that choice to be in a better energy space, to have a different reaction to the things that were happening outside of his control. And when we can create like family systems that are more supportive, more consciously loving, more aware of how we show up and treat one another. For us anyways, this is how we like change the world, right? Because it creates legacies. Now this kid, he's going to be able to teach this to his kids and them to their kids, right? Like the ripple effects are huge, and it gets me so excited because
it's healing, and it
heals
like
the world.
To see people operating from an empowered place just it has more than the butterfly effect in our society and our world.
If you think about, like you said, the ripple effect or the legend, passing it on to your kids. I mean, everyone parents like they were parented. So that's also, something that's ingrained. And so parents, I had two amazing parents. I will never say anything negative about them, but we didn't have coaching or working through limiting beliefs. That just wasn't a thing. They were there for me. They were, I have no bad words to say, but we didn't work on that. That wasn't a thing. So they parented like they were parented, and that's fine. But then now, I don't have kids of my own, but I feel like this is my calling to then help the next generation of teens as well as parents change your parenting style, tweak it a bit, and then the teens to then pass it on to the next generation. So it's just like that, like ancestral, I'm not getting the word, but there's that, like just healing that whole ancestral
those patterns
exactly is so very important, and it's really nice to see it when you can see the change. It's amazing.
Well, and I want to just like tweak a little bit of what you said, Carla, because you said like we all parent the way our parents did, and I would just add the word like start. We all start parenting the way our parents did, and like if we want to get good at it, we're striving to do like a level better, right? We're a level or more better. And that's what you're helping families do. Parents learn how to do. Teens learn how to do. Like, this didn't work. This is not still working. Like, we need to evolve. We need to evolve beyond what our parents and grandparents and their parents did.
Yeah.
So that we can shift the painful patterns, the limiting patterns and beliefs, and really like expand and revolutionize the human experience.
And to your point too, like just because they're coming to me doesn't mean that they are bad parents either.
Of course
and
not.
Just because you use tactics your parents did, like you said, doesn't mean that was bad. It's just you want to improve.
Yes,
so
exactly.
And a lot of times,
next level.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just put posts on to like parents just saying like, have some grace with yourself. Like, yes, X, Y, and Z might have happened to your teen this week, and part of it might have been your fault or because you said or did something, but like move on, apologize, talk to them, whatever needs to happen, and then move on. Because, if you sit in that energy, it's not good either. So, it's probably the hardest job on the planet. And if you can help couples and I can help families, and, that's the main goal. So I did love your point about, it's not that, they were parenting like their parents, and then also saying, have some grace, like it's okay. If you're at least conscious of and reflecting on when you might not do the right thing, that's the main thing. But if you keep screaming and yelling or then, okay, you got to reflect on it.
It's that commitment to growth and evolution.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we've already like talked over our time. This has been such a great conversation, Carla. But I want to wrap up and ask, like, how can people learn more about the work that you do? How do they work with you? What kind of stuff do you have going on that people might be interested in? Let's get some information out there.
No, for sure. So I have, I run everything through Facebook. That's like my main mode of communication. I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn, all of that as well. I have a free Facebook group, so I put a lot of things of value through my social media posts. I have a YouTube page where I have like long form videos as well. So my Facebook group is where everybody can join. You can find me on all social media. And then I offer like free master classes every month, something different. Like this month, it'll be next Thursday, the 28th at 8 p.m. And that'll be free. Log on. It's virtual. This month we're talking about like breaking bad habits and then building positive routines. So, it's for parents, how they can support their teens, preteens, and those are the things that I have going on. Working with me, basically, if you're interested, you can join the group, follow me, kind of like see if you're interested, if I would be in alignment with you first, or just jump on the call right away. It's totally up to you. But what I do is I usually have like a 15-minute call with parents. We see if we're a good fit, because typically we're going to work together if we would like to hang out together. You know, it's kind of like along those lines.
Yeah.
But if we're not aligned at all, and then it's just, it is what it is. And hopefully they find someone else that works for them. But we usually have the 15-minute call, and then we can decide from there what would work for specifically for your teen, as far as, you know, I have all different kind of packages, but as far as like everything that I do is individualized. So yes, I'm doing confidence. Yes, I'm doing mindset. Yes, we're talking about communication, relationships, but I might need to focus on something more specific with certain teens, and other teens, I don't need to do that. So yeah, Facebook group, and then connect with me past that. So
Cool.
yeah.
You want to drop the name of your Facebook group too?
Yeah.
What's the name of your Facebook group?
So I can share a link with you, but it's called the Teen Parenting Collective.
Okay.
Yep. The Teen Parenting Collective.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So yeah, so good things in there. Just always giving any kind of tips, strategies. You can ask me questions, and pretty open forum.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So good.
I'm in there.
Are you?
I haven't
Right.
been active yet, but I'm in there.
Good.
Yeah.
We need to be in there already.
You need to get on a call. So,
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, Carla. This has been so like full of just invaluable information for parents and co-parents and teens. I'm sure we're like, please, can my parents
Fix my parents.
Yes, that's going to be my new tagline. Fix my parents. I love it.
but thank you for the work that you're doing in this world, and for sharing your light and your love here with our communities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's all about, you know, building that like-minded community, like you said. So I'm glad we're in each other's, you know, lives and groups, things, and social media. And I just hope to continue to work with you all and put out more positivity in the world. And I thank you for the opportunity. And I hope all the parents and teens out there are just, you know, thinking about their relationships and hoping to improve them. So
Taking some action.
That's right.
yes, taking some action. You guys, thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.